Hey guys, welcome to Project Prosper. My name is Dennis, and in this video I'm going to be discussing my simple guide on how to pass the CFA Level 1 exam on easy mode, using what I'm going to be calling the brute force strategy. I recently passed the Level 1 exam on my first attempt, so today I'm going to share with you my experiences on what I think are the 5 most important tips in a quick 5 minutes. I call this strategy the brute force strategy because, in my opinion, your revision of the practice questions over and over and over through repetition and your revision period are the most important things for success in the exam. So let's get into the 5 tips. Please note that these tips are purely anecdotal and purely based off my own experiences sitting for the exam in November 2024. Tip number 1. Run through the content quite fast on your first attempt. What I mean by that is if you're using a prep provider such as Mark Meldrum, which is the one I used, then try and watch the videos quite quick. You can up the speed if you like, but try and have the curriculum finished at least 6 to 8 weeks prior to your exam date. What this does is it gives you an idea of the scale of the curriculum, which I think is very important. What I found at least is that the level 1 exam is about breadth, not depth. So the curriculum is massive. So what this allows you to do is to identify your weak areas early and then also focus on the heavier weighted topics. So tip number 2 is, leading on from that, focus on the heavier weighted topics the most. I know that sounds like common sense, but what I see far too often is people underestimating the actual weights of the individual topics. So you need to nail the big topics, you need to nail ethics, and you need to nail the big 3, which is FSA, equity, and fixed income. Too often do I see people mismanage their time and get caught up on, a small topic in derivatives or quant, and then basically aren't prepared for the larger topics, which on the day are obviously tested the most. For example, what I did was I tracked the amount of times I did the practice questions for each topic and then just proportionately based that off the weighting of the topics. So for example, I did the most questions on ethics and then the next most questions on the other heavier weighted topics and all the way down to the least weighted topics. And you can track this in an Excel spreadsheet if you like. That's what I did, and I can pop that up on the screen just to give you an idea. So tip number 3, that is to purchase the practice pack from the CFA Institute. This is a must purchase in my opinion. I know it's expensive, but what the practice pack gives you is more questions and then also more mock exams. I found that the content straight from the CFA Institute is, and these questions in particular from the practice pack, are the most representative of what you'll face on exam day. So I would definitely recommend purchasing the practice pack from the CFA. Tip number 4, and that is to learn the calculator like the back of your hand and also throw out any formula that there's also a calculator function for. So what I mean by this is you need to learn the calculator functions. There's not actually that many calculation questions in the exam, or not as many as you would think, but why learn a formula and learn the algebra if you can just use a function that gets you the same result? I know that it's useful to know the algebra to then help you with your understanding for the future levels, but you just need to know how to get the answer. So I would definitely recommend learning the calculator like the back of your hand. So the 5th and final tip is that your revision period is key. What I mean by this is most people recommend about a month for revision, but I actually recommend 6 to 8 weeks. This is just what I found was the most beneficial, because I found that your repetition of the practice questions, particularly the practice pack questions that I mentioned earlier, is the most important. So do all the end of chapter questions, but then do the practice pack questions several times in your revision period, and obviously base this off proportionally off the heaviest weighted topics. Then the practice pack also comes with additional mock exams. So I would recommend doing all of the mock exams provided in the CFA Practice Pack. So it's as simple as that. You do the practice pack questions, then you would do the mock exams, then more questions, then do a mock exam, record your results, more questions, mock exam, record your results, more questions. Focus on your weak areas and focus on the heavier weighted topics, and keep doing this until you're scoring at least 65% on all of the big topics, or on all topics pretty much, 65%, but above 70 to be sure. Also, don't bother with the mock exams from the other providers as much, in my opinion. So throw out Mark Meldrum's mock exams, they're much more difficult. Focus on the mock exams provided by the CFA Institute. They're the most representative of the exam that you will face on exam day. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. That was my simple tips, just purely based off my own experiences. So I hope that helps some of you guys, and good luck with your exams.